Hey, and welcome to iHeart Intellectual Radio, Black Conservative Radio, brought to you, sponsored by the Chronicles of Rohn and Captain Hook's food, fish, and chicken, fish and chicken. All right, people, this is going to be a very, very hot topic. It might be even sensitive for those who might be feeling some kind of way. But that's nothing's changed. That's how I get down. That's how we roll here on Black Conservative Radio. Now, the first question I'm gonna present because I just asked the question to my man just before we went on the air, and he had a very interesting answer to that. And I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna pause on that. But I'm gonna ask everybody who's listening, who's watching, whatever. Now that they have this so-called vaccination, air quote vaccination, rocking and rolling now. Okay. Now that they have that, I want to know how many people are actually going to do this. Or let me rephrase that. Now that they have it, are you going to get vaccinated? Are you going to put this substance in your body? That's my question. Personally, me, and you don't have to share my opinion. This all actually, again, this is only my opinion. Me, no. You can kiss my ass. I'm not getting the vaccination. I'm not doing it. And I'm not going to do it. Short and simple. And I'm going to give you and I'm going to give you my reasons on why I'm not going to do it. Because here's the thing. Number one, if you can't tell me or you can give me a definitive information, or at least it's something that I can pull up through Google search engine, say what is in this coronavirus vaccination? What are the components? What are the ingredients? What are they using? If I can't find it, I'm not using it. It's one of those things that if it's not on the bottle, if it's not on the bottle, if it's not on the package, if it's something that I can't read or look up, I'm not consuming it. I'm gonna tell you that right now, right up front, right now. Okay, I'm gonna tell you that right now. So earlier today, and once again, this is just the part that just really irks me. We have yet to see a white politician, or anyone that is of European descent to come on television and take this vaccination. But what they did do, they put two black people out in front to kind of to do the Al Jolson shuffle. See, these are two niggas who in blackface are being duped by other white people. You're gonna take this vaccination because somebody said this is what it is. Here's the thing, and I want you all to think about this. Think about this too. We have had several viruses to have come across the United States within the last 150 years. Okay, dating back to the early portion of the 1800s, basically, so roughly around 1823, 1827, when they had what they call yellow fever. And yellow fever, or what they wanted to say was that it was mad cow disease, and that was from consuming bad product and due to the sanitary conditions. But the point being is that this was a virus that swept across portions of the United States. It not only killed white settlers, it killed the indigenous people or Native Americans or anyone that they may have come in contact with. Okay, we have to look at that. Here's the thing, and as I said before, the difference between a bacteria and a virus is that a bacteria can be killed. A virus cannot. Think about this for a minute. A virus cannot be killed. That's why when they say the HIV or the AIDS virus, They haven't even come up with a cure. They haven't come up with a real stop all for that. They have this medication out there where, and this is the killing part. And see, this is what's really disturbing. That even that I have lost a lot of respect, and I definitely distrust the FDA, the Federal Drug Administration, the Food and Drug Administration. I'm sorry, Food and Drug Administration, is the fact that they have created a pill. I kid you not, created a pill to where you can take this, and this is for individuals who have been diagnosed with HIV, AIDS, that you take this, and what it does is that it lowers the amount of it lowers the rate that you have, or what's not the word, doggone it, escapes me, but it lowers the HIV count to where it becomes undetectable. Operative word, lowers it till it becomes undetectable. So you with somebody, you run across somebody, some lady, some guy, and and you develop a relationship, and then you move forward, and then all of a sudden during at some point or another, this person say, oh, by the way, I'm just letting you know that I am HIV positive, but I'm taking medication that lowers it, so you don't have to worry about getting it from me. What? Say what now? Does that even make any sense? Once again, it's a virus. You cannot kill it. The same thing with this coronavirus. Keyword coronavirus. You cannot kill it. For me, there are too many uncertainties. There are too many uncertainties, too many variables that are going into this, because the thing about this is that no one really knows what's in it. What they did. Now, here's the thing. Now, I can't even find this anymore. And I wish I had once I saw it, I wish I had logged in and saved it. But what they're telling people, or what was said in this particular article, is that the one of the components that they're using for the vaccination is what they call, I think I spoke on this before, it's called RNA. Roughly, for the short version of that, is just a replacement gene, because what they're injecting people with has zero, or what they call nano human product. That means that there's nothing human that they're putting into this. Nothing. So which means that what they've done is that they substituted some portion, some part of the to bridge the gap with the DNA. Or better yet, I can give you a better example. I know everybody who, I know everybody. If you haven't, shame on you. I know everybody has seen the first Jurassic Park, the very first one, and there's a scene where the scientists are creating the dinosaurs. And so as the investors come, and one of the other scientists, he asks him, he's saying, well, if you don't have the actual dinosaur, or enough of it to create the dinosaur, what are you using? He said, oh, what we did is that we just replaced it. And this was really, when you think about it, when he said we did it, we just replaced it with we replaced the DNA, or the gap in the DNA, with something else. Operative word, replaced with something else. So what he told him is that what we did is that we used the DNA from this mosquito because it was a mosquito that was trapped in sap, and they extracted DNA, but they were missing certain components. They were gaps. So they took portions of frogs, portions of other animals to bridge the gap. People, listen to what I'm telling you now. They're putting it. What's in this is RNA, which means it's a replacement gene, which means it could be from a snake, it could be from a goat, it could be from any number one of the simians. And operative word, or if you paid attention in school, weren't sleeping or goofing off or something. Okay, and the operative word, what they used to tell it, when they were referencing the closest likeness to human beings are monkeys or Homo sapiens. Homo meaning human, sapiens meaning monkey. They could actually pull certain levels of DNA from a monkey, a chimp, a gorilla, a baboon. All of these particular orangutans, these particulars that they can use to bridge the gap. But how do we know that it's actually going to work? They're telling people and see the big and the other part, the thing, and we have to start using common sense. How come they're not releasing the data on any and all side effects? You almost have to hunt this down to find out. Here's some of the side effects of taking this vaccination. Um, Inflammation at the injection site, redness, swelling, bleeding. Also, here's the other part. They're telling people who are taking what they call, if you are not familiar with what they call the epinephrine pen, or if you are in the medical field, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They're telling people that if you're taking the short version, the short term is called the EpiPen. You cannot take this vaccination, which means that these are medicines, two medications that will cross, that will react to each other. The best way I can put it: have any of y'all ever done the Coca-Cola and dropped and done the Mentos? Have you if you've done it, what happens is that there is a chemical reaction. You take a bottle of Coca-Cola and you take a Mentos and you drop it in, and you will see the reaction, which is to a certain degree, depending on where you're at. It's absolutely hilarious if you're doing this for science. But if you're taking two medications and you're crossing them that you have not done all of the data on, it can be catastrophic, possibly even fatal. See, what I'm waiting for the right somebody to wind up dying from this medication that they do not have all the data to or and for. This is the problem. This is the problem that I have with that. No, and under no circumstances, I'm glad, right? I'm glad I don't have any tender age children. I'm glad no, because they would not be getting it. Kiss my ass. Not gonna happen. They would not be getting it because I don't know what you're doing. And see, years ago, and when they were talking to parents, especially in the black community about vaccinations, and here's the thing, they weren't, once again, when you as a parent, if you were asking why is this necessary or what's actually in this medication, they would shut you down, or they would try to crucify you and say, okay, well, if you don't get the child vaccinated, we're not going to allow them to go to school and all of this. Here's the thing: when with my own children, I'm gonna tell you, because I've always been against um, federally mandated medications, things that they're telling us that you should get. Okay, that sounds like a dictatorship. And no, my children, no, I did not get them vaccinated because I didn't believe in what they were telling me was the truth. And the beauty part about it, all of my children, the funny part about it, all of my children are actually more healthier now than they might have been. Because here's the thing, and this is my own study, looking at children who got vaccination and opposed to children those who did and those who didn't. The ones who got it, the ones who got vaccinations were nine times likely to become sick or sickly as they got older, because their bodies were introduced to a foreign body, to opposed to where if you're letting the body do its natural thing, let it do its thing. And even with my own children, they've never been sick. They've never really ever been sick, ever. We have to weigh this out. And this is only my opinion, people, but you have to weigh this out. You have to weigh out the pros and cons on what's best for you. What is best for you? What is best for your children? What is best? Now, the other part, we can't talk about vaccination in the black community without addressing the experiment of 1923 through 23 from 1923 all the way through 1947 with the Tuskegee experiment. Now, once again, and it's a shame, okay, and I'm hoping that some of you have done your homework or you looking this up or you want to get more information. It's very simply put, all we have entirely too many avenues for us not to be well informed. Look this up, the Tuskegee experiment. The Tuskegee experiment was done by the under the guise of free health care. Once again, health care. And what they did is that they were injecting test subjects. They were using black men as test subjects to see what the effect of syphilis had on black men. I actually heard, I kid you not, I heard a reporter uh, 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 he was doing a piece on on the Tuskegee experiment, and he went on to say, and I kid you not, this is exactly what he said on television. He said the fact that the reason that they were doing these tests of injecting black men with syphilis to see what the effect had on black men so they could come up with a vaccination for white men. This is exactly what he said. Okay. Now here's the now moving to that. Now getting deeper into that, I'm going to tell you some of the horrors that came with that, with these men being injected, unbeknownst to them, because they're thinking they're being vaccinated. They're getting free they're because of they're getting health care. But what it was is that they were giving these men, injecting these men with syphilis, and these men, and some of these men were soldiers also. These men would go home to their wives. They would go home to their wives and engage and engage with their wives and wind up passing syphilis off to the wife. Now, unbeknownst to the wife, should she become pregnant, and remember now they're not getting any type of treatment to see what could cure this, what could kill it, what could it do. And so subsequently, if some of these women became pregnant, here's the horror. When they became pregnant, some of the children wind up becoming infected with syphilis, and some of the children wind up suffering irreversible damage. Some children were born blind. Some children were born with lesions. Some children were born with hair loss. A lot of horror, because what is happening as this child is passing through the birth canal, the mother is infected and she's passing it right on to the child. Yes, people, this is the horror that these people inflicted upon us. This is why the black community is very apprehensive about this bullshit vaccination that they call treatment. I'm very, yeah, and even before the Tuskegee thing, I was always apprehensive about something that you're telling me that you can straighten out. I'm not seeing it. If you haven't come up with a way to ease the common cold or the simple flu, what in the hell makes you think that I'm gonna believe you that you have something that you can come up with a vaccination in 6 weeks? You haven't even done any real human trials. If you're talking about doing a vaccination takes to make sure that it actually works and the side effects are minimum takes anywhere from 12 to 18 months. Sometimes, depending on what you're trying to do, can even take upwards up to 10 years. But they realize that, oh, we don't have that time to wait. Now, here's the other thing. This is a sidebar. The head of the FDA, Friday, because today is Monday, the head of the FDA was told by the council by the council of the FDA to either approve this to approve the fast track of this vaccination, or he would be fired. He was to either approve it or he would be fired. The head of the FDA did not agree with the fast track because what I just said, we don't have enough data to support this thing. Here's the other thing. You haven't heard about any other country coming up with a vaccination and fast tracking but the United States, because why? We want to be first. You haven't heard any other country. You haven't heard Japan, or I'm sorry, China, Japan. You haven't heard Russia. You have not heard England, Africa, Australia, any of these other countries saying that we have something. The only country that's mentioning this is the United States, because we want to be out in front. See, this is the capitalism part. This is what we want to do. This is why other countries are further along in their research and data than we are. This is one of the reasons, and like I said, this is a sidebar. This is one of the reasons why the Chinese and the Japanese create better products than the United States, because they take their time and do it, because they want repeat customers. They don't want repeat problems. The United States we work backwards, as we always have since almost to our inception. We like repeat problems so we can continue to gouge at Joe Average, make him continue to pay for it. Let me explain something. If I buy something, I don't like paying for the same real estate twice. If I buy something, I want to get what I paid for. Make no mistake about that. But the fact that they threatened this man to approve the fast track of this so-called medication is relatively not surprising. Hey, welcome to iHeart Intellectual Radio, Black Conservative Radio. Who do I have on the phone and where are you calling from?
This is Jay from Georgia.
Oh, watch out. All right, Georgia. You know what? Let's just get right into it.
All right. So in the interest of transparency and accuracy, I must set a record straight that you said earlier in the show. The actual Tuskegee experiment began in approximately 1932. And it went from 1932 to approximately 1974.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Because you know what? I'm not to cut you off. That's what, yeah, you're right. Because there's a little bit of dyslexic right there. That's what I meant to say. It was 32 and it contained.
So, yes, because we also have to continue to understand that so the reason why it was called the Tuskegee experiment was because the federal government, under a program of the military, was conducting several studies. Also within that time, the Department of the Armed Forces had been studying and came up with a conclusion from the study of why African Americans or Blacks or Negroes, let's call them Negroes from here on out, why Negroes were not excelling in the military. And the Armed Forces report used scientific data, fake news, but scientific data that said, and I quote, Negroes have inadequate vein and arterial structure to the upper parts of their brain. They are anatomically inferior to handle higher levels of engineering and or even aeronautical skills, because at such high altitude and under high duress, these capillaries and arteries would collapse or would cease to provide adequate oxygen for the brain to function, which deems them incapable of flying aircraft, especially, and other higher ranking or higher pressure positions. Okay? That is what the Department of the Armed Forces used as their validation to not elevate blacks into other positions of higher authority, responsibility, and ranking within the military. Okay? The Tuskegee experiment was partnered with the Ford Motor Company. It was also another partner was the Bridgestone Company.
Bridgestone.
Which is where you also get a lot of the experiments that came out of Tuskegee University. And then you get the whole Tuskegee Airmen. And then you get alongside of that, the Tuskegee experiment, which was a black ops operation. So what they did was, and I want us to listen very carefully to the strategy that was utilized. The initiative was to find out what the long-term effects would be of sexually transmitted diseases, primarily syphilis. I want us to understand that. Syphilis was the core, but there were several other STDs they also utilized in this study. And to be very clear here, they utilized Negroes to go into the community and recruit other Negroes to join into this initiative. Let's quit blaming white people for everything. Negroes were used. Negro physicians, Negro nurses, Negro pastors were utilized to go in and recruit other Negroes in Tuskegee, Alabama, Phoenix City, Alabama, Macon, Georgia, Albany, Georgia, and the surrounding areas under the guise that they were going to receive access to free health care. Because remember now, most of these people were sharecroppers and already had compromised situations of health and prosperity. So they utilized this pool of people, and let me just shed a little bit more light. Guess who the mother university was that was collecting the data? I'll help you out. Emory University, centered in Atlanta, Georgia, has been an adjunct or an auxiliary for the CDC since their inception. I'm going to say that again for the slow people in the room. Emory University has been an auxiliary or a filtering test facility for the CDC since its inception. Okay?
Yep.
So when you hear stuff about, oh, the CDC is an independent, no, they're not. They're part of they utilize Emory University. Okay? So anyway, Emory University and Emory University staff, personnel, and equipment was brought down to Tuskegee, utilized for the data collection and for keeping tabs on this entire experiment that went on for nearly 50 years. It was only discovered after a whistleblower brought it to the attention of Ted Kennedy in the 70s.
Correct.
Let me say this again. It was only halted after it was brought to the attention by a whistleblower to Ted Kennedy in the 70s. The purpose of this experiment was to find out the long-term effects of multiple STDs, particularly syphilis, because it was the one disease that had the longest life cycle.
Right.
So let's put a bookmark in that. Now we all think we know a little something about Henrietta Lacks and her cells, which were now used to help develop a profile of how cancer starts, right?
Right,
how
right, right.
cells can also be retro-engineered to fight against cancer, right? We think we know that story.
Right, right. Keyword retro.
Retro. So, but guess who was the university that went and collected this woman's cells, put her into their care, and ultimately lobotomized her and left her for dead in a medically induced coma?
Mm-hmm.
Guess who the university was that was in charge of that one?
Thrill us.
A researcher by the name of George Day, who worked for Johns Hopkins University. So, for the slow people in the room, who has been the major hub of collecting data of mortality and infection rates since this pandemic started?
Mm-hmm.
Johns Hopkins University.
And repeat that, and give a repeat that name of the woman who for the woman you spoke of about the cancer. Repeat that so that way those who are listening, they can see. People understand something. We're not just we're not just pulling this shit out of our ass. This is stuff that you can look up. Period. Through any search engine, and you'll find these people, and you'll find the links. Go. What is the woman's name again? Repeat that.
Okay, Henrietta Lacks.
Henrietta Lacks.
Lacks. The university that was overseeing this experiment was Johns Hopkins University, and a researcher by the name of Dr. George Gay, Gey. Okay? So once again, you have universities and colleges that are utilizing our anatomy like guinea pigs for their own exploration and in our demise. So that's two instances. Let's go for a real thriller. Let's go for three. There was another incident in the 1940s in Indiana called Lion Station, Indiana, where third graders were given shots of radiation to see what the long-term effects would be of radiation exposed inside of the body. They gave this to third graders, first and third graders. Lion Station, look it up, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
See, we have to.
So let me also say this other thing.
Go ahead.
So the black woman that they keep putting out in front of everybody, and I'm talking about the doctor. Her name is Dr. Corbett. Okay. Let's be very clear for the slow people in the room. Dr. Corbett works for Moderna Manufacturing or Moderna Pharmaceutical. Okay. Moderna Pharmaceuticals does not have a vaccine that has been FDA approved. The vaccine that has been approved and that is out for distribution right now is from Pfizer. Let me say this again for the slow people in the room. Pfizer is a German company with offices and labs in the United States. But it's a German company. In addition to that, Pfizer and Moderna are competitors. You know, like Nike, Adidas, I'll keep it in the shoe range since y'all know how shoes and competition works. So Adidas and Nike, that's what Pfizer and Moderna are. They're competitors. Okay? Dr. Corbett doesn't work for Pfizer, people. She works for Moderna. which is a company, a competitive company that hasn't even gotten their vaccine FDA approved yet. Look it up. See, your problem is your enemy knows every emotional trigger to utilize to get you to jump. He knows you better than you know yourself. He used another donkey by the name of Lindsay. What is her name? Let me look up her name again. Sandra Lindsay, a nurse in the Long Island Jewish Medical Center. I wonder how many black people get treated at that hospital. Long Island Jewish Medical Center. Nurse Sandra Lindsay was given a version of this vaccine. As you said earlier, what we don't know is at what point does this vaccine become stable? Because if you take any sort of liquid, last time I checked, any type of liquid or any type of substance that's below 94 degrees, like negative 94 degrees, at what point do you have to allow this to thaw so that it can now metabolize or it can now be fluid? Or is it fluid?
Right. And let me
What
throw this.
fluid do you know of that is still fluid at
negative
94 degrees?
Right. Let me.
Even
That's
alcohol freezes at some point.
right. I'm glad. And that's that. And I'm glad you brought that up because I want to hit on that too. That's a problem. That's another problem for me, Pete. That's another problem. That should be a problem for all of us. That this medication or this bullshit, whatever they got it in, it has to be kept at negative 94 degrees. Not only that, but do you know that now that they have a shortage of dry ice, which means what? It creates a problem for this medication to be transported. So here's the problem. What is the study? Freezing anything liquid freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 32 plus. That's 32 degrees Fahrenheit plus. The temperature we got outside right now, that's about 32 degrees. And normal liquid freezes at that point. But once you start going north of zero, and you're talking 10, 25, 20 minus 25, minus 45, you're up to minus 94. You could not even survive sticking your hand in something that has that type of temperature. And as Georgia said, at what point does this metabolize to where it becomes safe to inject into a human body? Also, this is the other thing that we should be really concentrating on. If it doesn't freeze at minus 94 degrees, how come? What are you using to prevent that? Here's the thing. I want you all to think about this. Think about the same way antifreeze in your cars does not freeze doesn't freeze at a certain point. They have antifreeze right now. Hell, you can go right to any AutoZone, O'Reilly's, Pep Boys, whatever, and you will see antifreeze that is designed, operative word, that is designed to sustain anywhere between minus 38, negative 38 to 45 degrees. Negative. So think about this. Are they using the same components in this medication that they're talking about injecting in people's bodies that they are using in the manufacturing of antifreeze?
Well, let's look at it a different way.
Well, no, but and I get that part about the different way, but it's a little simpler to kind of to relay that to say, hey, just put something on their mind. But go ahead.
No, I mean, here's the thing, and that's a very valid point. But the other part of that, or the other side of the coin, is when are you going to quit being the proverbial jackass and guinea pig? I have just given you 3 instances in which your people have been utilized as the guinea pig for medical amusement. Let me give you another one. Let me give you one more. because obviously most of you guys don't pay attention and you don't read anything anyway. There's a gentleman by the name, I should not call him a gentleman. He was far from that. His name is J. Merriam Sims. So J. Merriam Sims is hailed as the doctor of gynecology or the father of gynecology and female anatomy. Dr. J. Merriam Sims was actually a Frankenstein monster. He failed medical school, and as a last-ditch effort, his father and his father-in-law willed him some property and a little bit of money for him to come down south and work his experiments on the slaves and black women that he purchased. And he ran experiments on them to help better understand the female anatomy, many times without anesthesia, many times to the point of death, which is why he was given an allowance so that he could continue his experiments for over 30 years on slaves and people that he purchased. But now, in New York, he is hailed as the father of gynecology. I'm not making this up. Do your research. The other part of this very disturbing narrative is that at the center of it is the Jewish community. Just saying, every time we get hit with a brick, those are the people who are handing the brick to the people throwing it. Long Island Jewish Medical Center. You should ask yourself how many black people were turned away from that hospital over the last 50 years. The NAACP, by the way, was founded by Jewish people. And it was founded by Jewish people who told us and sold us the narrative that you need an organization to advocate for you. But the baseline of your advocacy is to first identify yourself as a human being. And that sounds very noble. It really does. Because you're like, well, good. That sounds like somebody who actually wants to help me. But guess what the baseline was in how they helped you define yourself to be treated? They took an excerpt from the ASPCA, which is basically the standard of how you are to humanely treat a field animal. And based upon the guidelines on the ASPCA is how they gave you the definition guidelines of how you should not be humanely or inhumanely treated and still be labeled as a human being. And the reason why that's important is because we did all the legwork and we did all the suffering, and now they get all the benefits. The same thing is happening now. Dr. Anthony Fauci is utilizing our stupidity to do what him and Bill Gates said needs to be done, which is to remove the weeds of Negroes from the Garden of Humanity. Once again, I'm not making this up. This is actually a fact.
Yep. And this is what was said. And Dr. Fauci or Anthony Fauci, he himself, he is the modern day Frankenstein. He is he is this guy here is an absolute mad scientist. This is the same son bitch that sat there on television and said and implored black people to run out and get the vaccination. Hello, ding, 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 ding. Tuskegee experiment. Think about these things. These, once again, are white people, Jewish people who are telling us what is best for us. But here, wait. And before I forget, Joe Biden, this brain dead jackass says, I will only take the vaccination when Dr. Fauci says it's safe for me to do so.
But wait a minute.
Ding, 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 ding.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, shoot.
Isn't that what Dr. Fauci said when he said the FDA approved it?
Right. Exactly.
So if Dr. Fauci said,
oh, by the way, Fauci hasn't taken, not to cut you off, but also Fauci himself has not taken the vaccination because his words, I'm unsure.
right.
Wake up. It's something wrong with this picture. People,
wait a minute,
go ahead.
Hold on. Where are your three musketeers? George Bush, Barack Obama, and Clinton. Remember those three musketeers said they would gladly sit up in a chair and take it as soon as it was approved.
Right. And it's been approved for 72 hours. Ding, 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 ding. And I keep saying that because the red flags have to be going up. The red flags have to be waving. The antennas have to be going up. The bells have to be ringing, black people. Something is wrong with this.
I tell you what, if the bells aren't ringing, and you don't have the common sense to do or to at least ask the question, seriously, if you don't have the common sense to ask the question, I will gladly let you take the first seat in line, because natural selection needs to have its way with you. You are the Tiny Tim, and I have often said vaccinations have killed Tiny Tim or made him live way too long. So a lot of you guys might be the Tiny Tims I'm talking about. So I gladly defer my vaccination ticket to you. And on that note, I'm out.
All right. All right. Thank you very much, Georgia. Thank you very much. Hey, this the first half of the show was brought to you by the Chronicles of Rohn and Captain Hook's Fish and Chicken. If you are hungry, get your booty down there to his locations: 85th and Cottage Grove, 103rd and King Drive, and 15945. I'm sorry, 15922. 15922 South Kedzie in Markham. Get down there, get some of that food. But as to piggyback off of what he said, we have to look at this for what it is and not what we want it to be. If these are people that are saying that this is what this is, and understand something, Fauci hasn't. The people who are putting this together have not taken the vaccination. But what they're doing is that they're handing it to first responders or people on the front line. Okay, I understand the level. I understand people are a little nervous about this, but there's a part where you have to use a little bit of common sense. Okay, show me the data that this is not only safe, but how long does it take to? How long does it go? What is the turnaround for it to take effect? Also, they're also telling you too that you have to get 2 shots. You have to get one now, and then another 3 weeks later you have to get another one. Okay, so how do we know how effective this is if I got to get 2 shots? I've never heard of that. You have to get 2 shots. There's just the data's not adding up for me. I'm sorry, I'm not a scientist, but if it don't make sense, if it doesn't make sense, it's something wrong with this. Something truly, truly wrong. The fact that the president, the goofball president-elect said himself, these are words out of his own mouth, that I will take the vaccination when Dr. Fauci says it's safe for me to do so. That right there is that would be what most people call in the business world, that's a deal breaker. That is a deal breaker. Okay, I don't see you haven't seen Kamala Harris or her Jewish husband, who is also, listen, you have to understand the narrative of how this works. These are people who know the game. They're not going to take this. They're not going to take it, and you're never going to see them take it. You're not going to. Not going to do it. They're putting people out there. They're parading them. They're using them as hand puppets and trying to make the rest of us feel good about this, particularly the black community. And like I say, personally, me, I would tell you the black community, no, I would steer clear of this because you have no idea what's in it, what they're doing, what its side effects. The scary part is they're not even telling you what the side effects are. You have people that are allergic to penicillin. They're allergic to amoxicillin. They have food allergies, maybe allergic to milk, tomatoes, peanuts, food allergies, shellfish. How do we know that they didn't get this from some squid at the deepest part from the ass end of the world and extracted DNA or any type of fluid from there so this stuff can work? How do we know that? We don't. They're not telling us this. The same way that this madness started in somebody's laboratory as some type of mad experiment gone riot, and now it's global. Now you don't even have an antidote for it because it's a virus that you cannot kill. Cannot kill. Joe Biden and his jolly knuckleheads are talking about they want to have 100,000 people inoculated in his first 100 days. Not gonna happen, flyboy. Not gonna happen. There are too many people that are seeing the adverse effect. Here's the other thing: they're not telling you about the two people who had real bad reactions. One guy, he had trouble. He had shortness of breath. They couldn't give him an EpiPen because why? It was going to have even a worse effect. What happens if you give this to somebody's child and the child has allergic reaction or such as they're asthmatic? What happens then? It's a good chance that you might have to stand there and watch your child expire right before your eyes because they don't know what will happen. They don't know. And when they can't tell you, or there's a term in medicine called idiopathy, meaning, and in layman's term, meaning we don't know. We don't know. So if you ever happen to be in your PCP's office, you're doing getting a physical, or you're going to a specialist, or you're going to you're following up on a certain ailment or something like that, and you hear them use the term idiopathic. Now you know what it means. He's telling you, he or she are telling you they don't know why it's happening. They don't know where it came from. They don't know. There's some of us that have pre-existing conditions that they don't know where it came from, how it happened. Wait, here's the other thing. There are people who already have a virus in their body, which they are less likely to contract coronavirus because here's the thing. You can't have two viruses can't occupy the same host. The existing virus will cancel out the invader. It will cancel them out. Operative word, virus. What about people who have compromised immune systems? Okay, compromised immune systems, or some people, or people that have autoimmune system disease. They can't. You know what? They can't take the vaccination. They can't because what? They don't know. How many people, what were the test subjects, what were the test trials, and what were the results of getting this medication? Because remember, now you have Pfizer that's out in front, that's already been approved. Now you have Moderna that's trying to turn the corner to also get their approval. People, we're not talking about two different brands of aspirins here, or pain medication. We're not talking about amoxicillin, fetocinnamon. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about Bear. We're not talking about Anacin. We're not talking about Tylenol. We're not talking about these things. Because what? Because all of these products I just named all have this, how the same, if not have the similar, if not the same ingredients. Just some the contents are a little more potent, such as Tylenol 3 or Tylenol with codeine. Operative word, they're telling you exactly what is in this shit. They're telling you what's in it. They're telling you, hey, oh, wait a minute. Since they're giving you this, they're telling you to get inoculated and giving this vaccination. Should I be operating a motor vehicle? Should I be operating any type of heavy equipment? Should I be driving once I get this medication? Oh, should I be should this be combined with any type of alcoholic beverage? This is about the simplest that you can the simplest that you can really get when you're talking about this particular situation that we are living in, people. The simplest is it's just asking a simple question. If it's not on the bottle, I highly recommend you don't take it. If they can't tell you what's in it, how long and what is, if there are there any side effects, anything of that nature. That's the whole thing. You need to tell you have to ask these questions on what is in it. What is it going to do to me? Is this something that I should be taking? Wait a minute. When they're doing clinical trials, they're doing them in intervals to where they're looking at ages of 21 to 20, 21 to 31, and then they're moving up the ladder, up the ladder. Then you're going to people who are of age, people who are 50 and beyond. Is this medication going to create an adverse effect on them? What about people and people who have pre-existing conditions such as heart and lung disease, or who or not so much as, and not only that, but people who have um, uh, 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 um, heart issues, people who may be suffering from what they there's a cardio condition called pericarditis. Okay, that's a virus inside one's body. We have to look at these things. We have to look at these particular things and ask ourselves these questions, these very important questions. Is this shit safe for me to be taking? Is it safe for my significant other, my spouse, for them to be taking? If you have a person who has asthma, is this safe for them to be taking? Can they mix this with other medications that they may already be on? We don't. The thing is that they're not giving us the data to make our own decisions, because as Georgia said, I George Bush Jr., Barry Santoro, aka Obama, and Bill Clinton. These three knuckleheads said they will willingly come out and sit in a chair and get the vaccination once it's approved live. Okay, okay, jackasses, it's been approved. Now what? That's right, because they're not because they understand. They know. Dr. Fauci came out, as I said before. He sat there and said black people should basically. He said black people should be running out and getting the vaccination. Are you? This guy here. He is insane. He is a mad scientist. Trust and believe. This is the same guy who worked on the HIV/AIDS project and didn't get it, and still didn't get it right. Do I need to say more? I know this is a difficult time for everybody, and and we're around the corner from the holidays, but we have to use a little bit of common sense. We have to say to ourselves, we have to stop being the proverbial goats lost in high grass and dazed and confused, and allowing someone else to dictate or to dictate what we should do, allowing someone um, to give us the narrative on how we should operate and live our lives, or what we should be doing. And we spent entirely too long. We have spent entirely 70 years allowing other people to give us the narrative on our lives, what we eat, what we should eat, what we should drink, the medications, help, all of this. One more note. I have yet to see or hear any member from Congress, the House or the Senate, to say, I'm going to take this vaccination. You know why they're not going to take it? Because they know what's in it. And as I said before, this vaccination has zero human product, all additives. So, with that being said, as I looked in the distance, I see the lights flashing and the helicopter is about to touch down, which means that's all the time we have here on Black Conservative Radio, brought to you by IntellectualRadio.com here tonight. Um, just hopefully you all take something from what was said tonight and you use that. You do your fact finding, you do your research, and make your own decision. Because I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna reiterate, I'm not taking that bullshit. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. None whatsoever. And as I say, the show is brought to you by the Chronicles of Rohn and Captain Hook's Fish and Chicken, 85th and Cottage Grove, 103rd and King Drive, and 15922 South Kedzie in Markham, Illinois. And in that saying, not my monkey, not my circus. The Batman is out.